Welcome back into the NFL Every Game on the Board betting podcast with our next guest up, Robbie Veno. Rob, welcome in. How are you?
I am great tonight, Drew. How about yourself? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, Robbie. Feliz Viernes to our Spanish-speaking listeners out there. But we're going to be doing this in English. Tampa Bay at Atlanta up first, Robbie. We got 263, 264. We're going to the end of the card, Robbie. 52 being the total, -3.5 or -4 seeing in there in the marketplace. Mostly 3 in the hook here. That's the Falcons laying in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Rob.
Yeah, I think the guys who got to this game first, Drew, got the value for sure. Atlanta opened 2.5, been pushed to 4. My power ratings indicated that they should have been -4. It's been quite the turnaround for the Atlanta Falcons and Dan Quinn, who was, basically one leg out the door up until a couple of games ago, a couple of nice big divisional wins. And all of a sudden, the betting market's thinking a lot differently where the Atlanta Falcons are concerned. The game breaks down pretty easy, though. You have Atlanta, which can't run the football. Therefore, I don't believe Tampa Bay's top-notch run defense even comes into play. Atlanta's going to throw, ranked number 3 in the NFL, 300 yards per game. We know Tampa Bay's had difficulty all season long stopping the pass, so Atlanta should move the ball pretty much at will. For Tampa Bay, they've been able to throw the football as well. Interesting with Atlanta, Drew, I think I said last week, I really didn't know what to make of that one game against New Orleans, but they repeated it with the same type of defensive effort against Carolina. Now it makes it really tough because here's a team that's had 13 quarterback sacks in the last 3 games. And they've only got 18 for the entire season. So they only had 5 sacks until 3 weeks ago. Are they, what they've shown us the last 2 weeks, or is the body of work more like it? Jameis Winston is prone to taking sacks. It makes that angle of it a little bit difficult. But I think that, Tampa Bay probably moves. I saw some 51.5s earlier where total was concerned. If it's 52 now, those probably got chewed up, and 52 is a tough number because that is very, very common and key. Otherwise, I would take a lean toward the over in this game, thinking that 28-24 would cash the ticket. We're kind of razor thin there where the number is concerned, but I think that would work. For Atlanta right now, though, it's tough to go against them, Drew. I mean, neither one of these teams has any divisional hopes, so there's no angle there. I just think if you're playing current form, you're on the Falcons, and if you're playing totals, if you can catch the number under 52, I'd say you still got a little room. If not, both of these things are probably gone value-wise.
Yeah, and you talk about the change there at the defense right after the bye week for the Falcons. They changed it up, Robbie, and they've looked really good defensively. And we talk about best ways in sports betting to get an advantage, finding change. I think we found it here with the Falcons. So all in all, you got them circled as a bet on.
Yeah, they made changes inside the defensive coaching staff, Drew, which is crazy. They just maneuvered a couple of guys, and all of a sudden results started coming in really good. I mean, 2 games, especially the New Orleans game, but 2 games where they weren't really expected to win, and they don't only win, they win convincingly. Right now, I guess if we're playing current form, you could say one team's ascending, one team's descending, because Tampa Bay is kind of going south at this point in time. And you do like to look for that stuff. I mean, that's kind of a profile that you're looking for second half of the year. We'll see if Atlanta can do it 3 straight divisional games. It'll be a little bit difficult, but I think they'll score points. Tampa Bay has no prayer of stopping them through the air.
Okay, good stuff, Robbie. We got 265, 266 up next. Detroit Lions at Washington in our nation's capital here. 3 in the hook. Lions laying on the road. 40.5 the total, Robbie.
Yeah, now here's something I like, Drew. I think this thing gets over 40.5. First off, there's some weather coming through Mid-Atlantic and East Coast cities Saturday and Sunday. It made me change an opinion on the SMU Navy game earlier this week. It's got a lot of people playing under in the Dallas-New England game late Sunday afternoon in Foxborough. In this case, Washington, D.C. is going to see their steady rainfall on Saturday, but it'll be clear and mid to high 40s from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon when this game will be played. I think this one gets over. If you just look at what happened last week, I know Washington's been a horror show offensively, but they put up 17 on the Jets last week, lose 34-17. I think giving up 34 to the Jets is as important in this handicap as Washington scoring 17 finally. But they should find some room to run the football with Peterson, now with Geis, against the Lions defense, which ranks 24th against the run in the NFL. Last week, Washington, it's a step down in class. They played the number 1 run defense last week. So I think Washington through the run can set some things up, make it a little easier on Dwayne Haskins, who has not had an easy time of it behind that rickety offensive line. Other side of the coin is, Matt Stafford probably doesn't go here. I'm handicapping this with Jeff Driscoll at quarterback and what I've seen from him the last couple of weeks. And with Golladay and with Marvin Jones and with Hockenson at tight end, they've been able to move the football pretty consistently. They put up 27 on the Cowboys last week. No problem here for Detroit, in my estimation, scoring on the Redskins on a dry field. That Lion defense that we alluded to earlier, they've allowed 20-plus points in 9 of their 10 games. This number is just too low, and it's totally predicated on the fact that Washington can't score. But my feeling is this is an opponent they will score on. They'll score enough. If they get to 17, Drew, 24-17 cashes, and I would be right in line, ready to cash that ticket. So for me, I think I'll play this one up and over the total. I just think the number's too low. I actually think it's going to get mid-40s to high 40s anyway, so I don't think we're splitting hairs with this one.
Robbie, moving on to the 1 o'clock Pacific kicks here, 4 o'clock Eastern, Jacksonville at Tennessee. We're seeing 42 being the total, with the Titans laying 3 in the hook in Nashville.
Yeah, and maybe, because I'm not staring at the lines right now, Drew. I might have got these two confused. I don't know. Maybe this is the one that's 41 for a total, and the Lions was 40.5. But they're both in the same area.
Yeah.
And I like them both over. Jacksonville's a different team than what we saw when they played Tennessee the first time around. They played Tennessee 7 weeks ago on September the 19th. Final score of that game, which at the time was Gardner Minshew's second start, final score was 20-7 Jacksonville. Low scoring, defensive battle, exactly what you would expect out of these two teams. Jacksonville, the underdog in that case, they win outright. But now if you fast forward to where we're at here, Nick Foles takes the reins last week. And in his first effort since his return from injury, he goes 33 of 47 for 296 yards, completes 70% of his passes. And very seldom the Jacksonville Jaguars throw for 300 yards. Minshew kind of started this ball rolling because he was having some success, not 100% consistent success, but he was having some success throwing the football with this team. Nick Foles continued it last week. Tennessee might be in for a bit of a surprise here at how well Jacksonville has begun to throw the football. I think there's some room for the Jags to score points in this game. Now, if you're going to get over, in this case, you need both teams to participate, and I think the easier side of the two is going to be Tennessee. Jacksonville last week against Indianapolis. Think of it this way. Indianapolis last week had no receiving core whatsoever. Those guys did play last night. T.Y. Hilton showed up on the field. But Jacoby Brissett was basically helpless last week as far as receivers were concerned. All they could do was run the football. Jacksonville knew it, and they couldn't stop it. Not one, but 2 100-plus yard rushers against Jacksonville last week. Jonathan Williams goes 13 carries for 116. Marlon Mack goes 14 carries for 109. These guys both average 8 yards a carry. I can't even imagine what Derrick Henry's going to do against that type of run defense. And if Tennessee can run the football, as we saw against KC before their bye week, they can run the football. They're going to score points because Tannehill can throw off, or they can use that play action. It all works when they can run. I think that's going to happen for Tennessee. I think it'll happen for Jacksonville through the air. I think the total, again, is too low. We're at a point in the season where, team reputations or labels that have been branded to them, such as with Jacksonville and Tennessee, purely defensive teams, sometimes they change. And I think in Jacksonville, things have changed. You can run on them now, and they actually throw the football pretty well. So I think we'll take advantage here and try Jacksonville, Tennessee over the total.
I like it, Robbie. We got a battle of the NFL big boy brands here up next. Dallas, New England, then talking Green Bay, San Francisco. So Cowboys, Patriots, the afternoon kick here in Gillette. You mentioned the weather a little earlier, Robbie. Might be a factor in this one. We got the Pats laying 6 at home, 45 being the total, Rob.
Yeah, it's played as a late game on the East Coast. 425. Obviously, the networks want to capitalize on this matchup, so they place it there. It's going to rain the entire length of this game. It'll be a little bit cold. It won't be freezing cold, but you have cold, rain, a New England offense that hasn't really hit any type of stride so far this season. And you can see why the mad rush has come to the under in this case. You know, early in the week, Drew, I built this tremendous case on another one of our shows here on how much I like the over in this game until a day and a half later when the weather changed and I saw the weather report, and now my case goes totally south. I think I turned the case of playing this game over to a side play with Dallas now in these conditions. And rain isn't the be-all, end-all. Believe me, none of us as handicappers ever take straight-up rain and just say, oh, because it's raining, the game's going to stay under. That's not what I'm talking about here. But it's 4 quarters of steady rain with 2 teams that can run the football. In the 30-degree area, 35, 39-degree area, you know, the ball will get slick, things will happen, and it's easier to run. So for Dallas, I think Ezekiel Elliott carries the torch. Baltimore showed us that New England's not the stoutest up front. You can, if you have a big offensive line, the way the Ravens did, the way the Cowboys do, you can hand off. Mark Ingram did a nice job that day. Ezekiel Elliott able to do a good job this day. I know that Dak Prescott does his own read option the way that Lamar Jackson does, but you can still stick 2 or 3 plays in there for Dak. He's a willing runner, so I think that'll show up in the game plan. This game might get shortened because of weather. +6 to me is an awful lot of points for an offense that leads the NFL in just about every category. I mean, Dallas can move the football any which way they want to. New England, we've seen, has a lot of difficulty against decent defenses moving the football. So this number's come down as well, Drew. I think it went 7, 6.5 before we went on just now. I think I saw a lot of 6s out there. Totals coming down with it. But I think at this point in time, I changed my mind off of the over and moved toward the dog with 6 points, just to have more offensive weapons right now.
All right, Robbie. Well, we got the Sunday nighter here. Green Bay at San Francisco. 49ers laying 3 with juice or 3 in the hook. So this is an important one to shop around, guys. Talking about, a half a point on the number of 3 in the NFL. Games land on that 3 number more than any other number in the NFL. So we're seeing San Francisco -3.5 or -3, 47.5 being the total. Talking the Packers at the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, there's so many injuries that we still have yet to decipher through, Drew, because we don't have official, tags on some of these guys, including George Kittle, who hit the practice field yesterday. Still not cleared to play, but we may see it happen. Again, this game probably moved out of reach for me because when it opened up, I really liked over in this contest. I think with Jimmy Garoppolo now having to move the football through the air because teams are stacking the box against San Francisco. They've gotten why. San Francisco's a physical run football team. Okay, we'll throw 7, 8 guys up in the box. Can Garoppolo beat us? And last week he threw for over 400 yards. So the answer to that is yes. They've got weapons both sides. I think Green Bay, I've said it before, I think they're a little fraudulent on a defensive side. I don't think that they're much more than a decent pass rush type team. I don't think they particularly defend the pass well. I don't think they stop the run very well. Frisco could have their way. And the other side of that coin is Green Bay is starting to come into their own, and they had a bye week to get ready for this team. I think that's all important. 2 weeks, San Francisco, the team with a target in the NFC on their chest. Green Bay, obviously, in my estimation, will be well prepared for this. So I think they'll score as well. But the problem is there's a big difference between betting over 44 and betting over. If you're going to play it over, I would say do it now because that thing's going to go even higher if people like Kittle and company are able to play in this game. So now I'm still looking at it, Drew. 49ers have played 4 consecutive overs. I think they can make it a 5th here.
Robbie, we got one more game left here. And guys, check out Rob Veno on sportsmemo.com. You can use the coupon code VENO69 at checkout for a 7-day all-access package at sportsmemo.com for less than $10 a day, just $69. You'll get the next 7 days of any play he releases in any sport for just $69. And it's a great time to be on the all access packages, mainly because all the sports going on right now. So you get a lot of bang for your buck, so to speak. He's also 11-2 in the NBA, so a hot run on the hardwood. He's doing college basketball as well, college football. As we all know, he's knows his college football gridiron. 5%ers in college football totals. He's hitting 67% since the start of last year. Also 5% blue chips across all sports, hitting at a 60% clip as well. That goes all the way back to 2007. Those are his top-notch plays, which he does release on sportsmemo.com. You'll get all of those plays and more using his all-access package, 7 days, for only $69 using the coupon code VENO, VENO 69 at checkout. Robbie, last game up here, I think it got flexed out, so it's at the bottom of the rotation card, although I'm not 100% sure on why a 10 a.m. Pacific kick is at the bottom of the card. Seattle at Philadelphia. Either way, you can bet it. You can win. You can also lose. Hopefully find some winners here. Eagles -1 at home, 47.5 the total, Robbie.
Yeah, it did get flexed out, Drew. For Philadelphia right now, the injury concerns are real. They're very real, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line probably down both starting tackles again. They're actually deciding whether they want to play the Washington State rookie Dillard or whether they want to play Vaitai at the right tackle spot. We'll see which way they go. Beyond that, Alshon Jeffrey may play, but he's certainly not going to be 100% according to reports here in Philadelphia this afternoon. Nelson Aguilar now injured as well. They're down to 2 tight ends, basically 1 running back. Jay Ajayi may get a few carries here, but Jordan Howard's probably not going to play, so it'll be Miles Sanders, Jay Ajayi. Their problems for me are too deep to overcome at this point in time, especially against a Seattle team that may be able to turn Jadeveon Clowney loose against a backup right tackle in this game. I mean, that we saw what Clowney did his last game against San Francisco. We could see a repeat performance of that here as well. I think Carson Wentz has an awful lot of trouble. What we saw last week against New England could repeat itself here this week. Seattle with Russell Wilson obviously will have a more difficult time with the Philly defense now that their secondary is healthy. But I just feel like if you have 12 possessions each during a game, the chance of Seattle scoring on 4 of those 12 and Philadelphia scoring on 4 of those 12, they're just not equal. Seattle has a far better opportunity to get to 20, 23 points. For me, Philadelphia is probably at best 17 unless the defense helps or special teams scores for them. So I'm going to play for Seattle here. I think it's the right side. Philly just needs to get healthy.
Guys, that's the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast. Next week's schedule, we got Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving out there. Hopefully everybody enjoy it with your family, friends, and get a little relaxation. Good sports betting week overall. So stay tuned to sportsmemo.com. Put out a lot of free content here in the podcast and video on YouTube as well. We'll have a condensed schedule here. We will have the NFL opening line report regular time Monday morning with Teddy Covers. We'll also have Robbie Veno on later on Monday to do a college football Every Game on the Board podcast with me. And Minty, her segment's pushed up as well. So we'll be out on Twitter at SportsMemo. You can check us out at Rob Veno Sports or at Drew Martin Bets. And we'll get the scheduling out to you guys via social media. But all of the podcasts should be out tomorrow or next week, by Wednesday. So stay tuned for that. And Robbie, anything else you want to throw out before we shut this down?
Just good luck to all the listeners this weekend. Let's cash some tickets.
Absolutely, Robbie. Well said, guys. Have a great weekend, fun, safe weekend. We'll talk on Monday for the NFL Opening Line Report podcast.